Hello everybody and welcome back to the stream. It's Wednesday and you know what that means. It's time for Jump Around, our weekly cardio class, and I'm definitely having one of those days where everything is just running ever so slightly later than I intended to be. So yeah, sorry for kicking off a little bit late. I got completely caught up in dancing around in my pump up playlist and then went, I'm supposed to be like teaching right now, I guess. So, hi everybody. Welcome. Woo. We're midway through the week so far. Nobody's tried to do a coup, and in fact, the House has voted for impeachment, so it's already a better Wednesday than last week. Oh my god. I do have a certain amount of fury at the people on the Republican side who are finally going, oh, maybe we should remove this guy from office, when he has less than a week left in a term that has been one of the more destructive terms of a presidency and it's like, I'm not going to cheer for you for doing the right thing. I'm glad you did the right thing, but you also aided and abetted this person for the better part of 4 years, and I don't have a lot of confidence that you wouldn't have just kept on doing it if things had broken slightly differently. So, yeah, fun times. But hey, we're here to do some cardio. And that's always good. Yeah. Do you ever have those days where it just seems like you are running just slightly late on everything that you intend to do on that day? And like, that has definitely been my day so far today. I'm just like, I'm doing things, but everything is just slightly behind where I intend to be. Which can be really frustrating, especially when you have like actual deadlines to get things done, like say, teach a class. Hey, just off the top of my head. Oh no, has your sleep schedule flipped back around? Oh God, yeah. So. It's definitely one of those days for me, and if it's one of those days for you, I understand, and I'm right there with you. Thanks Discord for reminding me to put my phone on Do Not Disturb so that we can get ourselves through class. No, don't do it. Don't. You were doing so well. Don't head in that direction. Oh my goodness. What a weird time we live in, my friends. What a weird friggin' time. But, there are good things happening. There are good things happening right now as well. In amongst the bad and or frustrating and or angering things. So, sometimes if we can keep ourselves focused on that to some extent, that'll be a good thing. That'll be a really good thing. So, oh my goodness. Yeah. Midway through the week, I feel like this week, compared to last week, I feel like I don't have a lot to say about this week. It's one of those weeks where you kind of feel like you're in a holding pattern, right? You're waiting for various things to happen and waiting to see if they do happen. And that's definitely where I am right now. Like, I don't feel like I'm getting things done so much as like getting set up for things, but mostly just waiting to see what comes about. I don't know. It just feels really weird. It's been a really weird week so far. Not bad, just just not as anchored as I have been, which can be frustrating. So, yay. But somebody complimented my hair today, so that was nice. I am amazed. Like, okay, yeah, we're going to take a moment and just really be impressed by the fact that I got this dye done 3.5 months ago. I got it done the beginning of October, so November, December, January, yeah, like almost 3.5 months ago. And it still looks so vibrant, which is super exciting. And I mean, it really is like Blanche's quick lesson on dyeing your hair, if that's ever something that you are interested in doing. If you're going for a color like this, like a really intense color like this, and you really want it to stay, basically the thing you have to do is stop washing your hair with water or getting water on your hair at all. I could probably, run my hair under like cold water at this point and it'd be okay, but I transitioned over to dry shampoo as soon as I got this color and haven't really looked back. So that's really, there are conditioners that can help you to add a little color back in. I know a lot of people swear by overtone. A lot of my friends, my hairstylist has recommended them, so that's definitely an option if you're like, no, I don't want to give up, dunking my head in the shower, which I totally understand because I do kind of miss that. But really the only surefire way to maintain your color is to not get water on your hair, which, let me tell you, the first few weeks when I was yes, thank you. The first few weeks when I was still having to do class, obviously, and it's like, well, I can't get my hair wet, but I can't avoid sweating either. And I was really amazed at how little overall came out. But I definitely would end class and be like, oh, there's a little bit of a green streak going down my face. This shirt, it looks like it's washed out, but this shirt definitely got some dots of hair dye on it for a little bit. So, but it's a good color and it has lasted so beautifully. So, anybody looking for a hairstylist in the Boulder area, talk to me. I've got a recommendation for you. All right, yeah, I feel like I'm trying to procrastinate from starting class, which is always a weird feeling when the teacher is the one trying to procrastinate. Usually it's the students, but hey, fitness teachers, they're just like us. Sometimes they don't really feel like working out either. But we're going to do it anyway because we know that we love it, and we know that we love gathering together. We know we love how exercise makes us feel. We know we love the health benefits, and I'm already in my comfy clothes, so I might as well. But let's do our pre-class checklist really quickly. First, make sure you've got your water. Then make sure you've got your comfy clothes on. Speaking of comfy clothes, then make sure you've got a mat or a mat-sized space on the floor. And finally, if you use a fitness wearable, which is by no means a requirement, but if you do, turn it on to a high-intensity interval training setting of some kind. The Apple Watch has one literally labeled high-intensity interval training, so that makes that pretty easy. Oh, and let's warm up because, we know how to do the warm-up. We know where we are with the warm-up, and that's always a nice way to ground. Again, having things that can help to ground us as we start our day or as we try to maintain a new habit are really important. And I feel like the warm-up's really great for that. It's a constant across all of my classes. So even if you haven't taken a particular class type with me, you can come in and the first 16 minutes of class, so you can sort of immediately be put a little bit more at ease. And that's something that I really like to maintain. I do think that over the course of this year, I will try and build some additional warm-up sequences so that there can be a little more variation, or maybe, we use, we do like, a quarterly thing where we use one warm-up for 3 months and we switch to a new one. Because variety is also really important, and sometimes it can feel a little boring doing the exact same thing over and over again. It's finding that balance, right? But having something that we can really count on, and that we know really well is really helpful, in just going, okay, I know where I am right now. I am here doing class. Speaking of, let's get started. Hiya! Oh my goodness. All right, on our mats, on our backs, 1 foot crossed over the opposite knee, and as soon as you hear that timer, we will begin with our hip rocks and bridges. Hiya! Woo! Yeah, I'm feeling, not soreness, but definitely a little bit of, oh hey, you've been working out. Which is a distinct feeling. It's different from soreness, but it's that awareness that your muscles have worked pretty hard this week, and they're remembering that as you kick off the warm-up. Alrighty, so we're starting with our good old hip rocks and bridges right here. So this exercise, when we do the hip rock, it's actually really engaging the core. This is our first opportunity to pay attention to core engagement as a way of generating movement. All right, we've switched sides. So we're not just pushing our feet off the floor and hoping that that'll get our butts up in the air. If I engage my ab muscles, contract them a little bit, that will actively combine with the momentum of the floor push to pull my hips up in the air, okay? So you want to combine both of those. And then we bring the foot down, come up under the ball of the foot so that we can bridge a little bit higher up in the air. And remember, you'll probably be feeling a little bit of a hip stretch as well as you do the hip rock, because we're pulling this whole knee apparatus closer to our chest. So it's giving us a nice little active stretch in the hip, which always feels really good, I think. All right, now we go into our leg sequence. So we begin with everybody's favorite Jane Fonda, lying on our mats, on our sides in a straight line. So this is something that the better your spatial awareness is in terms of where different parts of your body are in space at any given point, the easier it is to just get into this position. If you're still struggling with that, use, say, the long edge of your mat. Use something that you can sort of line yourself up along and go, okay, well, I am lined up along this, so I am in a straight line. And then just pay attention to how it feels, okay? Just pay attention to how your body feels in that position. So the next time, maybe you don't need to use that long edge. Maybe you get into position and go, okay, this feels familiar. This feels right, all right? Now we take that top foot, put it flat on the floor in front of that bottom knee, and we are lifting the bottom leg, and we want to keep this knee safely pointing straight up at the ceiling. So depending on your hip flexibility, you may have to engage your muscles in your hip to pull that knee backwards, or if you have a super flexible hip on this side, you may be able to just plop your foot down and your knee stays in the correct position. It's likely going to be different from one side to the other, so always keep that in mind. We are not symmetrical beings. We should not assume that we are, just because we can do something on one side, we can do it on the other. That is not a guarantee. So just check in, because this is our first opportunity to really start thinking about knee placement and safety. All right, now we put that bottom foot, or that top foot, behind the bottom knee, still lifting the bottom leg, but now we're in our beach pose, basically. This is a nice, chill, easy position. We're not really worried about the balance because we've got this foot flat on the floor. The knee doesn't have to really do anything to stay in this nice stable position. So we're not worried about maintaining that. We're not worried about our hips rolling backwards or forwards. So we can really just focus in on what the leg is doing and what muscle groups are engaged in helping to lift that leg, okay? Whew. Look, it's been a long week. It's only Wednesday. But yeah, so just really check in and go, so that's what it feels like when this particular muscle group is dominant. All right, and now we turn ourselves around and we do the exact same 3 exercises. So starting with Jane, here we are. Again, checking in on that nice straight line of the body. One of the things that can help, so the working leg can have a tendency to try to drift forward as you're lifting it. So one of the things that I always tell people to focus on is engaging the glute on the working leg as you lift it. And that doesn't mean pull the leg backwards, because that's going to pull you out of line in the other direction. But just engaging that glute rather than lifting the leg without it helps to keep the leg in line with the rest of the body. It may take a little time before you figure out the perfect balance of engage the glute but don't pull the leg behind you. It certainly took me a little while before I figured that out, but just keep that in mind. All right, so now we're doing this on the second side, so check in. What is your hip flexibility like on the side? Is it easier or harder for you to keep the knee pointing up towards the ceiling? So on this side, for me, if I am not paying attention to my hip, my knee starts to cave forward, all right, which is not what we want. And this is obviously, it's not the end of the world if my knee caves forward right here. You know, we're lying on the ground. I'm not putting any weight on the knee. I'm not putting any pressure on it. So it's not the end of the world, but that means that it's also a perfect time for us to really practice what it feels like to engage the muscles that we need to keep our knees safely positioned when we do things like squats or lunges, okay? So take this as an opportunity to practice rather than an opportunity to go, oh, cool, I don't need to worry about that, okay? All right, and back to that beach pose for our final time. Just chilling here, sand in our toes. Oh, man. You know, I've never been a huge beach person, but I do miss the beach. It has been a good long while since I've gone to the beach. Maybe in the next year or two, I'll get to go back to Hawaii or something. But yeah, someday beach, we will be reunited. So again, this is a nice easy one. You know, obviously there are form points, but they're all really easy to achieve. You don't have to have been doing this class for months and months in order to be able to plop yourself into this position and get going. All right, now for scorpion twist. So this is the beginning of our back and hip sequence. So this is a lot of active stretching and just loosening up these two areas that tend to get really tight and stressed out over the course of a day of sitting at your desk all day or standing on your feet all day if you work in a retail or food service position. So this is our opportunity to start loosening up those areas and helping them to gain some additional flexibility. Make sure your elbows are glued to that floor right now, okay? If you can't bring your knee over like this without an elbow coming up, then you can't twist that far yet, all right? Hey. So now, standing. And we grab our imaginary PVC pipes, and now we are doing our big torso rotations. So I'm changing directions every couple of rotations so that we're evening out, because we're only doing this for one timer. So we're not going to do this for 2 timers in a row. And make sure that you are initiating the movement from your hips, okay? So we are not moving our arms around and following behind them. Your arms are staying in the same position relative to your head the whole time. They're just coming along for the ride. But the movement itself starts with me bending over at the hips. All right, and now we're still holding that pipe, and now we are doing our first run of squats. So I've got a relatively wide position here for a bodyweight squat. You know, I have my feet are a little bit wider than shoulder width, and I need to be able to maintain my knees going straight over my feet the whole time and not trying to cave in towards one another at any point. And if I'm not able to do that, if I come down, fine, but then they cave in towards each other as I stand, narrow your stance a little bit. Go, okay, I can maintain the squat here, so I'll stay here and I'll practice here until I gain the strength to then go, okay, let's see if I can try the wider position now, okay? Now for our Samson stretches. So this is an opportunity to stretch out the front of the hip flexor right here, okay? So we're taking this nice deep lunge position. The back leg is straight, so it's not a double leg lunge. And we're just sinking into it, lifting our arms up towards the ceiling. I'm not trying to curve my back. There's some natural curve to it just because of how spines are, but I'm not actively bending my back backwards. And I'm keeping my hips pointing forward the whole time, okay? I don't want them to start opening out into like a warrior 2. I want those pelvic bones pointing forward the whole time. Now we get into our wide squat and we start doing shoulder twists, okay? So I'm just holding this squat position, hands on my knees, which makes it much easier to keep the knees safely positioned. And then I twist one shoulder in towards the midline and then the other. And I just go back and forth. So now I'm getting a twist into my upper spine, where earlier we were twisting in the lower to mid spine. And everything else is staying stable, okay? So I'm not bouncing up and down out of the squat. I'm not letting my knees cave in towards my shoulders. My shoulders are the only things that are moving in this position. All right, and now cardio. So we begin our cardio sequence with jumping jacks, which is an exercise that I rarely go into detail on because, you know, if you've taken a PE class any time in the last 100 years or so, then you've probably learned how to do jumping jacks. So we're not doing huge jumping jacks. We are doing bare minimum, okay? So I'm not going for huge width or speed. We're just booting up our cardiovascular system right now. So getting our heart rate going a little bit faster, getting our breathing going a little bit faster. But we can do that without going for 100% energy output. All right, and now for our kick throughs. If this is a new exercise for you, take it slowly and carefully. So basically, we are kicking one leg across our body and then switching to the other side. My standing arm, I want my shoulder over my wrist as much as possible. My standing leg, I want to get a 90-degree angle with my knee pointing up towards the ceiling. Okay, not letting the butt sink down towards the floor, not letting the knee cave forward. All right, and then I switch through the center to the other side. Once you get more experience, you can add a little bit of a jump in the center there, but don't start there, okay? All right, last but not least, burpees. Hey, so we do a wave push-up for our burpees here. So I want you to make sure you're doing a wave push-up, okay? You may really want to do a plank push-up, and I understand, but no, that is not the exercise that we're doing. So jump into a plank, then wave down, wave up, and jumping up and doing our victory clap at the top. If you, like me, have puzzle pieces that tend to come apart, just make sure not to fall. All right. Woo! Okie dokie. Let's grab some water. My mod's already out there doing the good works of helping me to run a Twitch stream. Thank you. Thank you very much. Woo! And there we go. That warm-up sequence is honestly, if you don't have a ton of time in a day, but you want to get something done, just do that warm-up. Takes you 15, 16 minutes, and you definitely get a little bit of a workout, Not a super intensive one over time, but anything that you can get in a day is going to be good. So yeah, if you're like, oh man, I really don't have time for my usual class, but I don't want to do nothing, the workout is a great place to start. Just throw that in whenever you can during your day, and go from there. Oh my God, it is so windy outside right now. Holy crap. It's crazy. It is absolutely crazy. So hopefully no one's out there blowing away in the wind, because that wouldn't be good. All right, let's start with a nice big Tabata. So we are going to we're starting with our big one. We're starting with 45 seconds of work to 15 seconds of rest. And 3 exercises, 3 times through, just like normal. So here we go. Our 3 exercises. First, we're going to start with just turtle stance, okay? So anyone who's taken class with me for a while, you know the beginning of turtle. Rock onto your shoulders, then up onto your feet, okay? If you need to use a hand to push yourself up, you can. So for turtle stance, rock onto your feet and just stand and then repeat, all right? So yeah, it feels easy until you do it for a while. Second exercise is going to be side-to-side planks. So we're taking our nice front plank stance, shoulders directly over wrists. Let the heels drop to one side.
Come up onto one arm. The other arm raises towards the ceiling. Hold for a second, and then switch to the other side. And we're just going back and forth, okay? And then our third exercise is going to be bicycles. So engage those core muscles to lift your shoulders off the floor. One knee into the chest, the other leg extended but off the floor. Bring the opposite elbow to that knee and then switch and just go back and forth, okay? Okay, so turtle stands, then side to side planks, and then bicycles. All right, and this has 15 seconds of rest at the beginning, which always throws me a little for a loop, but just remember, we have a longer rest than we're used to. 5 whole seconds extra, which, believe me, is actually a lot. All right, and then knock, knock, knock tells us to get into place, and then we get that fanfare telling us to get started. So, again, I know I have to give this caveat every time we use this timer. For this timer and this one only, the connection between my phone and my Bluetooth speaker seems to get wonky, so that you only catch like maybe the very end of the knocking sound, if that. So I do try to point it out because obviously it's an important cue for getting us ready to start our next exercise. But if I miss it, my apologies. All right, that was the knock. So getting ready into our plank and go. So our side to side planks, we do not need to go for speed here, okay? We are in fact really focusing in on strength and stability in our shoulders. All right, this exercise is a physical therapy exercise that I've done for my own shoulder strength, and I love it. I love it. It is a great shoulder strengthening exercise, but it means that we do not need to be trying to go super quickly from side to side, okay? Because our shoulders are a super unstable joint, and what we want to focus on is teaching them how to really stabilize when they need to. All right, and now our bicycles. Remember not to put your hands behind your head, okay? Because we want to make sure that you are actually using your abdominal muscles to keep your head and neck and shoulders off the ground. And when we have our hands behind our head for ab exercises, we have a tendency to try and compensate by yanking forward on our necks. And then we get done with a set and we go, man, my neck's really sore. That's so weird. It feels really stiff. Well, that's because too often we don't realize that we're not actually using our abdominals for the exercise we're trying to do. Frequently, we end up compensating by trying to pull ourselves forward with our arms or our heads and necks, or various other muscle groups. So one of the things that I always focus in on when we're doing abs is, hey, are you actually activating those core muscles? Are they actually the muscles that are driving this motion, driving this movement? And if they're not, then you need to touch base with what you're doing in terms of form. Remember, form, so important. Before we focus on anything else, we focus on form. Knock, knock, knock. Getting ready for our second set of side-to-side planks. Woo! Yeah, side-to-side planks are just a great shoulder strengthening exercise. And so many of us aren't really taught deliberately how to strengthen our shoulders or why it's important. And, you know, one of the reasons that it's important is, again, I said it, that they're our most unstable joint. And that's by design. They have the widest range of motion of any limb that we have. Look at this. Well, my arms can move all over the place. And that's because of the flexibility of this joint. But it also means that when we have things that are super flexible, they're frequently not good at stabilizing themselves. And so that's why we need to train ourselves to do that, because otherwise I pick up something heavy that maybe I'm not prepared for the weight of it, and it yanks down on my shoulder, and bam, I have a shoulder injury. Or I'm doing a weightlifting class and I'm using a weight that's too heavy for my arm, and I lose control of it and try and wrangle it back and make a really nasty motion. Bang, I have a shoulder injury. So the more you can do to really strengthen and stabilize your shoulders, the better you will be. And it makes so many other exercises feel so much easier. Exercises that I used to hate, like mountain climbers, like burpees, like front planks, all of these things became so much easier once I had that additional strength and stability in my shoulders and could really feel it, okay? So even if you have never had a shoulder injury in your life, you will still benefit from strengthening and stabilizing your shoulders. Because then, if you're moving houses and you're carrying lots of heavy furniture, you're going to do it in a much safer manner, you know? And it's just going to make a lot about your fitness practice easier and more enjoyable. It's just really, really going to be helpful, okay? So always keep that in mind. Whee! Man, my rolls up onto my shoulders were getting very, very melodramatic there. I was hanging out for a long time. All right, knock, knock, knock. Getting ready in that plank, and we begin. So slow but steady. Remember not to let yourself sink down into the shoulder joint, okay? I am pushing away from the floor with the arm that is the standing arm, okay? I am actively pushing myself up towards the ceiling the whole time, okay? So don't let yourself drop down into that shoulder socket. Make sure that your shoulder is actively participating in the exercise. All right, we've just got one more thing to do, my friends. Knock, knock, knock. Get ourselves ready for bicycles. Finishing out with our bicycles. So again, check in. Make sure that it's core engagement that is lifting your shoulders off the floor and keeping them there. All right? It's not pulling myself forward with my arms or my elbows. It is that I have contracted my abdominals, and that has in turn lifted both my arms and my legs off of the ground, okay? And just check in every once in a while, because as you get tired, it becomes easier to lose that connection as well. Woo! All right, let's grab some water. All right. Whew. How we doing? How are we doing? I'm feeling pretty good. The wind is just going absolutely crazy out there. It's supposed to be, 75-mile-an-hour gusts by Friday, which is just, I recognize that I still have some residual fears from wildfire season. I'm just like, thank God it's winter and it's cold enough and snowy enough that, I'm not worried about that. But, this kind of wind back in August would have been horrifying. So, yeah, just get that little hitch, that weird little hitch. And it will probably continue happening for a while. All right. So our next tabata is just going to be 30 seconds of work and 10 seconds of rest. And you've just guessed what one of the exercises is, but it's not the one we're starting with. So what we're starting with is high knee runs. So we are just running in place and bringing our knees up as high as we can. Mine tend to go up above the crease of my hips, but that's not required here. So just try and bring them up as high as you can and can maintain, okay? Second exercise is going to be jump rope. We don't have a jump rope, doesn't matter. We can simulate holding a jump rope and twirling it, all right? And this way we know that we're not going to get the jump rope caught on our toes. And then our third exercise is going to be shrimps. So moving ourselves back and forth along our mats, shoulders, then hips, shoulders, then hips, shoulders, then hips, and then go the other way when you get to the end of the mat. All right? Woo! All right, so high knee runs, jump ropes, and shrimps. Let's get going. Well, let's get going after we get through the stop. So that was not the start sound. That's the get ready sound. And we're starting with high knee runs. So here we go. I recommend whenever we're doing anything that requires jumping like this, make sure you're on a safe surface. So having something a little bit softer, like these puzzle piece mats, is really important for softening the impact on your joints. So if you're working out in, say, a basement that probably has a concrete floor, then I really, really want you to make sure that you have padding, that you have a nice thick mat that you can utilize, because concrete is basically the worst thing that we can move on for our joints. It is just horrible, horrible for our joints. So you always want to make sure that if you are doing something that requires jumping, that you are using some sort of a softened surface, okay? So that's why I have the puzzle pieces. Well, that and doing exercises like this is really difficult when you're on a hard surface. When I first started teaching, I I didn't have the puzzle pieces yet. And so I had 2 yoga mats, but it really didn't soften things much. And I had just nasty bruising along my spine for weeks, to the point where I stopped being able to do those exercises along with people with class because it was just so painful. So yeah, getting the puzzle piece mats, I complain about them a lot. You know, I would probably trade them in for just a full piece mat that was thicker, but having anything is really, really critical. So always pay attention to how you've set up your workout space. You know, we're working out in our homes, which are obviously frequently not really designed for exercise, and that's fine. If these classes teach us anything, it's that we can legitimately work out anywhere. But it's also important from a health and safety perspective to make sure that you do address anything that's going to actually injure you or set you up for injury. So making sure that you have a safe surface to work out on is important. And maybe it's just you're working out on your rug as opposed to on your wood flooring. Cool. Maybe you put a towel down, you know, cool. But, you know, pay a little attention to that. And if you're not able to do anything with the surface you're on, then modify what exercises you're doing, okay? Maybe focus more on strength and stamina exercises that are not going to be as likely to require a lot of jumping or a lot of intensive impact on your spine. All right, last time through. Hiya. But I was thinking about this because I've been having a little knee twinging for the last week, and I'm trying to, you know, be conscious of it and take it a little easy on myself. But one of the things that can be caused by is if we're spending a lot of time on unhealthy surfaces like concrete. So, you know, I used to work in a bicycle shop that was all concrete floor, and it was miserable, absolutely miserable. And you know, they set like softening mats up by the register, but those only do so much when the floor itself is that bad. There's only so much you can do. So if you're out there thinking of opening your own gym, or trying to figure out how to set up a workout space for yourself, maybe refinish a basement for exercise, really, really pay attention to the surface that you will be working out on, and do everything that you can to make it as safe as possible for you to be on, okay? And that's, you know, something that a lot of gyms either didn't take into account when they were building, or just didn't have the money to pay attention to. And so, you know, you end up with these spaces that you're supposed to be able to do HIIT classes in with concrete floors. And it's like, well, all right, good, you got the thick mats, but this still isn't great. All right. So now we are going to go back to our 45 seconds of work to 15
seconds of rest. Huzzah, huzzah. And all right. We're gonna start with turtle waves. So we've graduated from the turtle stand to the turtle wave, which is a little more complex. It's going to require us to plant our hands, jump back to a plank, and then do a wave push-up. Then jump our feet forward and repeat, okay? Second exercise, we're doing side-to-side mat jumps. So starting on one side of the mat, standing on the same foot as the side you're on, letting the other foot cross behind you, and then using this front leg to generate the power, we jump to the other side of the mat, touch down, and back, okay? So just going back and forth and back and forth. Get out of the way, cord. And then 3 is going to be full pike extensions. Woo, messed that up. There we go. So we start balanced on our tailbones, extend our arms and legs all the way out, still off the ground, and then pull ourselves all the way back up to that pike position. So, turtle waves, side-to-side mat jumps, and full pike extensions. Alrighty. First sound does not mean go, and it's a longer rest than usual, so we have a little extra time to boogie if we want to. Knock, knock, knock. All right, that tells us to get in position. Hey, and we're going. So for this, again, when we're thinking about our shoulder strength and stability, that comes hugely into play whenever we're doing something that requires us to plant our hands and guide all of our weight using our shoulders. So when I jump my feet forward and back, all of that weight of my body is being controlled and guided by my shoulders. So I need to make sure that they are ready for that and that they are stable, okay? So that's one of the things that we are paying attention to. All right, now for these, I'm not able to do them as fully as I would want to because I have so many things in the way in this living room. So again, when we talk about spatial awareness, there are sort of 2 levels to it. And one is just where are my limbs in space? And the other is where is everything else around me in space? So if I'm jumping from side to side, these really long jumps, I want to make sure that I'm not whacking into my board game bookcase and knocking over, a bottle of wine or a display case or something like that. So you really need to make sure that you are always operating on 2 levels. And the first is, where are all of my limbs currently in space? And the second is, where are all of the other things around me in space? And this is just as important a skill when we're in the gym, okay? This is not something that we are only worried about here in our living rooms, because when we're in the gym, we have giant racks of dumbbells and kettlebells. We have
people deadlifting. We have people moving through the space, potentially carrying really heavy weights with them. And we need to make sure that our exercise is not putting them in danger, okay? So when we're practicing spatial awareness, we're not just doing it so that we don't knock over our giant television. We're doing it so that if we're ever working out in a gym, we are not knocking over a rack of dumbbells, which would be not a good thing. Not a good thing for anyone involved. Oh, all right, my friends. How are you doing? This is why we do this class. We do this class to give ourselves that jump start of energy in the middle of the week. You know, time has no meaning, but there is still something special, and not in a great way, about Wednesdays that can make us feel really worn out and exhausted, even when there aren't huge earth-shattering events going on in other parts of the country. And so we do this class to just get ourselves going for the rest of the week. You know, it's one of those weird things that feels really counterintuitive, that exercise frequently will give us back energy that just, you know, sitting around and watching TV won't give us. And that's one of the reasons why I love this class, you know, because even when I come into this class feeling a little low down, feeling a little fatigued, as I did today, you know, I'm getting most of the way through class right now, and I'm feeling really energized by what we've been doing. So I hope you're feeling that too. As you're doing your second set of the pike extensions, again, remember to check in and make sure that it is your core that is generating that movement, okay? Your abdominals are what are moving you through space, not anything else. It's not because you're pulling your legs back towards you. It's not because you're throwing your arms forward. It's that core, okay? But now we come back around to our final set of turtle waves. And again, remember to check in on that shoulder stability. So each time you jump the feet up, make sure that you are really holding firm in the shoulders, okay? So that you know exactly where they can and where they can't go. That is the most important thing, okay? And that will be helped by the shoulder strengthening exercise that we did earlier, and it will be helped just by this exercise in general, because doing those turtle waves is also absolutely helping us to strengthen. Woo! All right, so now we're doing our big side to side jumps. So if I had my druthers, I would be jumping, I would be clearing the entire distance of the mat. And I'm generating the power, the force for this jump with that front leg. Whew. Okay, so I've got this other leg behind me, but it's just for stability. I'm not pushing my way off of that leg, okay? I am really using the power in this front leg to generate that jump. So something to always keep in mind when we do the side-to-side mat jumps. All right, last but not least, so you're going to get a lot of activation in the lower abdominals as they pull those legs back up towards you and get that torso back up into the air. So again, we talk about exhaling on the effort. So if you try a nice big exhale and you see how that really helps you to get yourself up back into the position and just makes the exercise feel a little bit more fun. I think anyway. Ow, what on earth was that? Okay. So we are drinking some water, are we not? Mm-hmm. Golly. Oh yeah. Always super important to hydrate, but particularly in our cardio class, all right? We are sweating in this class. And so water, super important. All right. So I think to close out class today, I'm going to give us one final cardio tabata, which seems redundant in a cardio class to call it a cardio tabata. And you are going to get to choose between 3 exercises, okay? You can do flaming scarlets, you can do burpees, or you can do something on the flying chicken or star jump spectrum, okay? So flaming scarlets, similar to those high knee runs that we were doing earlier, except arms held in a V for victory and the knees absolutely coming up above the crease of the hips, or you're really actively working towards that, okay? So that's flaming scarlets. Burpees, you know. You can also do the turtle burpee variation if you want to. So I guess technically we've got 4. So you can do the regular burpees that we do in warm-up, or if you want to do the turtle burpee variation, roll, plant, wave push-up, feet forward, jump up, repeat, okay? And then for flying chicken versus star jump, are the jumping, feet come apart in the air and then land right back where they started. Out, in, out, in, out, in, out, in. For flying chickens, we've got our thumbs at chest height. If you wear a bra, just tuck your thumbs behind your bra straps and you're just flapping your elbows. For star jumps, you can either have your arms held out like this and just sort of let them bounce, or you can actively move them a little bit farther. So hands, fingertips touch above your head, elbows come down your sides. Up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, okay? Those are all the options. So 2 types of burpees, flaming scarlets, or something on the flying chicken, star jump spectrum. And whatever you choose is what you're doing the whole time. So keep that in mind. Once you have chosen, you have committed. Alrighty. So I'm gonna go back and forth between things just because everybody may be doing something different. But here we go. So remember, 20 seconds is not a ton of time. And that means that we can really push ourselves. We can push for more intensity, more energy output, more power, more speed, because 20 seconds is done like that. And keeping in mind too, this is the last thing that we're doing in class today. So that means that you really get to, you get to leave all of your remaining energy here on this mat. We have nothing else that we're trying to hold it back from, we are not saving any energy anymore. We are not waiting to make sure that we have more for later sets, because there aren't going to be any more later sets. So you really want to make sure that you are going for full intensity here for the rest of class. Okay? This is how we're ending. And this is our real big pump up. This is us leaving on a high note. This is us reminding ourselves that if we can make it through an hour of a class like this, then we can absolutely make it through anything. Okay? So, I love the final cardio tabata, and that is not to say that it is not super intense, because it is. Okay? It's really intense, but you know what? What a note to end on. What an opportunity for us to show ourselves how awesome we are, that we can make it all the way through this entire hour and still have all of this energy to use for this final tabata. We're getting our cheerleaders out, putting them on the floor next to our mats, next to our computers, our TVs, whatever you're watching the stream on. We are watching them do their best floor routines, flipping around in the air. They are so proud, and so am I, because you know what? There are always going to be days when you feel a little bit worn down. There are always going to be days when you feel like just getting on the mat is a mountain that you don't know if you can summit. And some days you can't. Some days that is just what happens. Some days our brains really get in the way, or they just really need that rest, and they are going to get it one way or the other. But if you made it on your mat today, even if you are coming to the end of class to this final set and going, oh my God, I still feel exhausted, but you know what? You made it all the way through class. You made it through a full hour, jumping around, getting your heart rate going, and you should absolutely be super proud of yourself for that. And if you can do that, then you can do anything else that you need to do today or the rest of the week, honestly. Oh, good job, everybody. Let's do a little stretching. Whew. Oh man, yeah. So we're gonna start with my favorite quad stretch, and well, first I'm gonna stretch out my neck a little bit. But my favorite quad stretch, for the leg that you are stretching, you want to fold it so that the heel is on the outside of your hip, and then you want to pull that heel in so it's right touching your hip if possible. Okay? The other leg, I'm just letting the knee fall open, not really doing anything special with it. Okay? But this positioning is important for the actual stretch. And then we are just going to slowly let ourselves down backwards, just far enough to get that nice intense stretch in the quad. So for you, that might be here, and that's awesome. If you come here and you're like, ooh, I feel that stretch, it's intense, then don't go any farther. Or maybe you can make it all the way down to your elbows before you feel that. Awesome. Or maybe you can make it all the way down to the floor. The most important thing is to be honest with yourself and to move slowly into position so that your brain doesn't try to activate the muscle, which will cause it to try and contract. We want this muscle to be lengthening right now, okay? We don't want to be giving it any mixed signals to the contrary. So now we are settled in position, and we are going to take 4 deep breaths, and every time you inhale, just imagine that oxygen going straight to wherever you are feeling the most intensity of sensation, and every time you exhale, try and sink a little more deeply into the stretch. Here we go. That's 1. That's 2. That's 3. And 4. All right, and now slowly and carefully work your way back up to seated. And now don't unfold this leg under its own steam. Take one hand to the knee, one hand to the ankle, and manually unfold it, okay? I didn't let the leg do any of that. Bring the other leg out to meet it. Shake those knees out. Flex the feet. And point. And flex. And point. Circle the ankles, first in one direction, and then the other direction. All right. And now let's do the other side. All right, all the same form notes apply, obviously. Remember that you may not be able to go down as far on this side, or you may be able to go down farther. All right, we are not symmetrical creatures. Do not assume that just because you made it to one position on the first side that you can do the same thing on the second side. Always listen to your body and make sure you're paying attention to what it's telling you it can do, okay? Now we are settled in, and we're gonna do those 4 deep breaths again. Each time we exhale, settling a little bit more deeply into the stretch. Here we go. That's 1. That's 2. That's 3. And 4. All right. And again, carefully, not necessarily gracefully, coming back up to seated. One hand to the knee, one hand to the ankle, manually unfolding that leg. Bring the other leg to meet it, shake those knees out. Flex the feet, and point, and flex, and point. Circle the ankles in one direction, and then the other direction. And now, we're not going to do the full pretzel. I just want to do the hip stretch, honestly. So, we're going to start as if we're getting into that pretzel stretch. So, take one leg, lie it, knee flat on the floor, bring that heel over to the outside of the opposite hip. Take the other leg, bring that foot across to the outside of this knee with the knee pointing straight up at the ceiling. And now what I want you to do is bring that ankle up onto the knee that's against the floor. Keep your foot flexed to protect this knee, because now we're just going to let ourselves fold over. And you should feel that stretch really deeply in the hip, okay? So again, move slowly. Gravity can actually help us here. It's one of the few places that we let gravity get involved to help push us a little bit more deeply into the stretch. And let's just take 4 deep breaths here, okay? Here we go. That's 1. That's 2. That's 3. And 4. All right. Roll back up. Let that ankle come off of the knee. Bring this other foot up. And now let's switch. So pretzel ourselves, and then bring that ankle up on top of the knee, keeping the foot flexed. And let's fold over. Feel that stretch. Okay. Yep. And now let's take 4 deep breaths. Okay? Here we go. That's 1. That's 2. That's 3. And 4. Roll back up. All right. I think that is good. Woo! All right. Well, felt a little bit like an all over the place class, at least from my perspective, but it was still a good class. And that's the important thing, you know? We don't always have time to plan everything out as perfectly as we might want to, but what do we always say? Perfect is the enemy of good. So we got here, we had a good workout, and that's the important thing. We got to gather together, have a little fun. Oh man, yeah. And seems like the wind's died down a little bit outside, so that's good. But, my dears, a good class. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. And, yeah, let's drink to, it's still an eventful Wednesday, but eventful in hopefully a more positive direction. And let's remember to keep hydrating ourselves, refueling ourselves, all that important stuff. Yeah. It's all good. It's all good stuff. I'm looking forward to showering. So I think we'll close out class here for today. There are 2 more streams left this week. On Friday at 6 p.m. Mountain Time is Functional Home Fitness, where we do weight training using objects you can find around the house. And then Saturday morning at 9 a.m. is the weekend kickoff, which is our awesome strength and stamina focused bodyweight class. Another one of my favorites, as you probably know by now. So definitely come join in for either or both. They're both wonderful classes in their own special ways. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. All of those handles will be in my end cards, but they are all variations on Blanche Case Fitness. My YouTube channel of the same name is where I upload all the VODs from these streams, so you never have to miss a class.
even if you're not able to make the live cast. So definitely head over to YouTube and subscribe there. If you want to help support me financially in making these streams, I do have a coffee account, Blanche Case Fitness. Your donations are always very, very much appreciated, and they help me keep doing this. And if you want to help me keep growing this stream, we're right around the corner from Twitch affiliate. We're knocking on the door. Please do follow the channel. Tell your friends, loved ones, coworkers, anyone looking for an awesome class stream, and come join us. Even if you're not able to work out that day, come hang out and chat. It's always a good time. We have a great little community here, and yeah, we're doing good things. Good things are planned for 2021. Woo! So go, make sure to hydrate, make sure to have a good dinner, make sure to take a shower, and I will see you all back here again on Friday. Mwah. Have a great night.